few slides of our major concerns. Well, looking at the water supply and sanitation sector, we have 4 or 5 major concerns. The first one is population growth, urbanization, following that industrialization, increased production and consumption, and emerging climate change, which highly challenged the provision of water supply and sanitation facility at urban as well as rural setting. In order to combat against these basic challenges, we have set clearly defined policy and strategy which promotes the water supply and sanitation sector. Starting from the very constitution to various proclamations and sector-wide policy and strategy documents, a number of issues being covered in that aspect in order to promote the WASH services. Above that, we have clearly defined goals or targets, the MEDG targets, which we have completed, and ongoing GTP2 targets, as well as the current SDG target, which we are working with. With this, there are a lot of issues being mentioned, but just to highlight, even though some of these aspects have been covered in the morning plenary session, the rural as well as urban water supply provision comes at the top. The very ultimate goal put forward here is in order to increase the rural water supply access coverage from 59% to 85%. That 59% was during the end of GTP2, which is 4 years back. And in terms of urban water supply, based on the towns or city category, we're going to deliver from 40 to 100 liters per capita per day and increase the coverage to 75%. Similarly, in terms of sanitation, particularly in the urban setting, there are study, design, and construction aspects going on for a number of towns. Improving the water supply and the sanitation service delivery, we aimed to drop down the non-functional rate to 7%, as well as the unaccounted water or non-revenue water from nearly 40% during 4 years back to 20%. These are the major aspects which we have been focusing. In terms of water supply and sanitation, during the year 2015, when we celebrate the MEDG target on water supply and sanitation, remarkable achievement has been made. But as far as sanitation is concerned, our performance was quite low. We targeted to achieve about 52%, but we set behind at 28%. So Ethiopia is among a few nations who have successfully achieved the MEDG target by increasing access to water supply provision. Whereas in terms of sanitation, we are at modest level. That's why the MEDG being extended in terms of SDG, Sustainable Development Goal, in order to achieve those challenging targets. When we talk about water supply and sanitation access, one of our flagship program, the national program, is the One WASH national program, through which we have benefited a number of urban as well as rural population and institutional WASH services. That's really very promising. During the last 5 years, we could nearly able to address about 4 million plus population in terms of water supply and sanitation services in this One WASH national program category. Apart from that, we have the federal as well as regional government's contribution, development partners and civil society organizations, and the community at large. These all have been putting or exerting efforts toward this water supply and sanitation aspect, and through this joint effort, At the current timeline, we could be able to address nearly 70 million population with safe and clean water supply facility. This is nearly 73% of the total population. Looking at the sanitation aspects, as been mentioned in the morning session by His Excellency, since the year 2000, we could able to drop the open defecation status. These are among the comparison among various African as well as Asian countries. During the time we were at this particular stage, those people who have been practicing open defecation were like this, and we dropped to this level. That is really a massive effort. However, when we look at improved sanitation facility, those sanitation facilities we have been providing are not decent. Very recent report, which has come at the end of the year 2018, that is the Water Aid World Report, indicates that Ethiopia is among the top countries without decent toilet or improved sanitation facility. That's really embarrassing. So nearly 10 or 11% of total population have decent or improved sanitation facility. Otherwise, we have been focusing on basic sanitation. So really, a lot of effort is required to change this status. Even when we look at regional open defecation status, there is huge disparity. That is really plus or 10%, plus or minus 10% error might be there, but still the statistics dictate that most regions still have highest open defecation practicing level. So we want to drop that down and eradicate the open defecation fully from Ethiopian towns and rural village. To that end, we have come up with a new initiative, which is Open Defecation Free Ethiopia campaign. After 5 years, we expect that all villages, all towns, and city got open defecation free. And through that, we're aiming at addressing 10 million households, which nearly goes to 50 to 60 million population. And 130,000 communal toilets or public toilets, 3,000 sanitary hardware centers could be established, and that will a big move, as His Excellency forwarded your contribution earlier. I also want to stress all development partners, the community, and the WASH sector actors could extend their support to this initiative. Looking at urban sanitation, there are some initiatives going on, nearly 23 towns whose population is greater than 200,000, being accessing integrated citywide both solid as well as liquid waste management strategy. This is ongoing project, and hopefully that will extend further to other towns and cities. Coming to the institutional WASH intervention, over the past, most of the effort has been made over the past 5 years is through One WASH National Program. And when we, on aggregate, look at the access to institutional WASH facility, nearly 23% of our schools got improved WASH facility. About 44% of health posts has got improved WASH facility, whereas in other case still we're living behind, and a lot of effort is required in this category as well. The other challenging issue is provision of water supply and sanitation facility to arid and semi-arid environments. So in that sense, through our conventional approach, we cannot provide water supply and sanitation facility to arid and semi-arid environment, basically to pastoralist and semi-pastoralist area, where water source is not available at very near premises, and even the intervention requires huge investment, cost. So to that extent, through the support from our development partners, we have been initiating climate resilient water supply and sanitation service that could serve both the arid and semi-arid population as well as livestock. It is a multi-village water supply scheme where either from one or multiple sources, we need to provide water supply access to multiple villages. Now, I was just wondering to see the total internal annual renewable water source volume or magnitude of Ethiopia. I dropped those highest top ranking per capita internal renewable water available countries and just mapped a few other countries. We were really among the last 60 countries out of 180. So the per capita internal renewable water source potential is nearly about 1,250, which was estimated during the year 2014. Now the population has increased and this magnitude drops down. It is the total internal renewable water source divided to the entire population. So that entails that we have to utilize available resource very efficiently, and that climate resilient wash services, one of sustainable water supply and sanitation provision mechanism which we have initiated. So through that, we have identified a number of category 1, 2, 3 drought prone areas. Based on that, intervention is going on. Currently, we are running 13 multi-village water supply scheme study and design. Upon completion, at the end of this fiscal year, we'll be moving to infrastructure investment. Now, finally, talking about the wash sector challenges. The number one challenge is access of wash services to those arid and semi-arid areas is quite challenging for us. The second one is low financing, the low investment cost. Investment capital we are injecting to the wash sector hindered provision of water supply and sanitation facilities to urban as well as rural population. Now, looking at this particular plot, I was just looking at the last 13 years wash federal budget. This does not include the regional budget as well as the civil society organizations' intervention. This is only the federal budget, including One Wash National Program, which the ministry manages. That is very small, and much of the budget comes from loans and grants, and the government contribution is quite low. So we have to really move this up, unless otherwise we cannot address the remaining 30 million population who have been accessing water below our national standard or accessing water from unsafe sources. So this is a challenging issue. The other is the private sector capacity. Consultants, contractors, suppliers, drillers, water well drillers who have been engaging in this sector really get empowered, unless otherwise achieving the SDG target is quite challenging for us. The other issue is having attained the maximum capital, unless otherwise we really focus on our internal human technical capacity at federal to lower Warada or Kabale level, still the success could be questionable. So we have to really provide an educated technical expert at all levels who could manage the water supply and sanitation endeavors. Sanitation is overlooked. One of my WASH experts said that sanitation is an orphan. It's not, in fact, orphan, but it has 2 or 3 father or mother, and they could not be able to manage. There is parents, that the parents are many, and that's why it is overlooked. So we need to focus on this sanitation aspect, particularly the rural sanitation component. Starting from the very proclamation to other strategic direction has to be revisited, and then that will define clear direction, who will be doing what. The other is the non-functionality rate, the non-revenue water. We have to improve the service delivery, whatever the case is. Unaccounted water, in some instances, goes to 40 or 40+%. The volume of water which we produce got lost nearly 40%. So we have to improve that service delivery, whether it is at urban or rural setting. And the coordination among sector ministries, development partners, civil society organizations, and the community, as well as the private sector, by and large, has to be strengthened. And overlapping mandates has to be revisited. These are major concerns I have. And thank you so much.